So, car camping. Have you thought about it? I have. Mostly I just attach my tent to the car and then I sleep in my vehicle and I've got the full use of the tent attached to it. But what about just taking the car and going off and camping? So I talked to a friend and she's planning her first camping trip that way with a group of ladies. I'm not included. Anyway, so she's practicing by sleeping in her car while it's in the driveway. And then she took it to a park and tried it out there. So I have had the same thought. What if I just sleep in my vehicle in the driveway? What is it going to be like? So testing out car camping, here I go. And I learned a few basic things, which surprised me actually. So I'll share those at the end of this video. So I had said to myself, and it wasn't just the viewers practicing in her driveway comment that got me, but it was a little bit of a push that made me say, okay, I got to do this. So I had said to myself, as soon as it's above zero, I'm going out. I'm going to go in the car. So here's my setup. And wouldn't it be funny? I was thinking, what if the neighbors would go knock on the door and say, there's a light on in your car, thinking it's an internal light, has to be turned off. But anyway, so here's my setup, and this is what I'm going to do. So first thing I did for privacy is I put the windshield cover on. It's a cover you use, you put on your vehicle that, it prevents snow and ice building up on your windshield. So we haven't used it a lot this winter, but although we should have been. But basically I bought it for privacy. And then I put a bungee cord across from this end to this one and put a flannel sheet hanging on it. So it's like a curtain that gives me a bit more privacy. That's just a blanket I've got hanging there. And if we camp at a place that's too cold, I would put the heater right here and vent it, put the cord in that through the window. So, and there's our reflectives on the window. Sammy said after today, could I take them down because it's impeding his ability to see what's coming up the road. So this is in my driveway. I have my cubbies that I made. I have one turned that way, but this one's turned this way in case I will put glasses, iPhone, that kind of stuff, the evening stuff, hearing aid. I'll put all that in the cubby when I go to sleep. And this is my lamp, and it's a great little lamp attached to my Jackery. So it will stay on, but I generally plug it into my Jackery just to make sure that the light's on when I want it. And so I'll use that tonight. This is my bathroom, little bag, and I put a little doggy bag. These little doggy pads are great for absorbing liquids, and they're great for people too. So I'll put a part of one in the little bucket in case I need to use it in the night. Being a senior, yep, it often happens. Now the big thing is I'm going to be testing out this Sub-Zero sleeping bag. Now I've used this sleeping bag before. Usually in camping it's too warm for me, but I think tonight it's probably going to be the right temperature. I'll have an extra blanket. This here that I'm sleeping on is my 4-inch memory foam mattress. It's a trifold, but I've separated the sections so I have two that goes across the vehicle because that's all I need. A lot of people tend to sleep curled up, and so this goes the width of the vehicle, and it'll give me a nice cushy sleep, nice and foamy. And I have a nice thick wool blanket on top of it. So that is going to be my setup for the night. I've got lots of room to move around. If I was car camping in the back of this unit, I might have put my cozy on the back, which is like a semi-tent that attaches to the back of the CRV. And I then would be able to use my Coleman stove on here, and I have a little wood table that I would put up And I could use that. So tonight, let me just turn this camera around. Tonight, I'm going to bring a thermos. I think I'll bring a thermos of hot milk. And I told Stanley I'll FaceTime him because I might get a bit lonely. Plus, it's just kind of fun to do. So I'll FaceTime him. So I told you, make sure your phone is beside the bed. And then he said, well, will I lock the door? I said, no, don't put the bolt lock on, but you can put the other regular lock on. And I'll take my key with me in case I get scared. You know, the biggest thing around here is bunny rabbits and raccoons. Oh, occasionally we get a coyote running up the street, but it's not likely to happen. And besides that, they don't want me. They'd be running up the street. So anyway, so this is my adventure tonight, and I will be back later on. So this is my setup. There's my privacy. There's my reflectives. Pillow. There's actually an extra duvet in there, downy duvet, in case I need to pull it out and use it. Sleeping bag, cubby, light. I will be bringing my iPhone and my iPad with me, so that's my setup. I'll show you my privacy curtains on the windshield. That's it. That's one reason I bought that. Not just to keep the snow and ice off, but to have a bit of privacy if I go car camping. Look, here's my iceberg. Still right beside the vehicle. Hope it doesn't make the vehicle too cold. Can you hear the birds? Red-winged blackbirds. Oh, it's so great to hear it. I'm so excited. See, this is what happens when it starts to warm up. It's great. Stanley, what do you think about your wife sleeping out in the car tonight?
I think she's a little bit crazy and a whole lot adventurous, but she's not far away and she can get me on FaceTime.
Yes, we'll still be connected. That's a big important part. All right, dinner. Okay. Well, there I am. And I'm going to be testing out my Sub-Zero sleeping bag, which right now I'm thinking it's going to be too warm for the sleeping bag, that is. The air around me is cool. And I know that if I don't get covered up, I'm going to get cold, and it's going to be hard to get warm then. So I'll get this situated. Before I do that, before I really get myself tucked away, I did want to say this. This is something I have not seen occur on, that's my light. This is something I've not seen talked about on YouTube, and that is I use a bucket and I have a plastic bag inside like that, and then you take these doggy pads, you know, pee pads for dogs. I wonder if I could put that up here. Everything's balanced. Anyway, these pee pads for dogs. So you take them, turn them inside out so that the fabric side is out, and you put it in the bucket. I have an extra one. You put it in the bucket like that, and if you have to go to the bathroom, that's where you go. And there's these little, I think they call them silicylum beads. There's these little beads inside the dog pad, and it absorbs the moisture. If anybody has a dog, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have a dog. I used to when I was a little kid, but not as an adult. I've had mostly cats. So I was also thinking about what it's like for somebody to try to do this, to be living in a vehicle, let alone camping. For me right now, there's loads of room. and it's perfect. And I'm talking to Stan about doing a car camping at Earl Row Provincial Park, where we would actually be able to have a heater inside the vehicle. And then everything you do would be outside the vehicle. And I'm thinking if people who are living in their vehicle, that's probably, for the most part, what happens unless they have a bigger vehicle. Anyways, I'm going to take a break, and I'll talk to you later. My big adventure. So I have a Jackery. They don't make that one anymore. It's one of the low ends. And I have a light attached to it. It's a touch light. Yeah, that's kind of a nice setting. Ambiance. These are my wood cubbies that I made. They're serving me well. And this is my warm milk, my mug of warm milk, which I left in the house and I had to call Stanley. So you could say I had ordered room service. One thing I underestimated was the street lights. And I've watched a lot of videos of people who live in their car or van or whatever, and even RVs, and they've talked about the lights. And I've blocked out as much as I can in the front, but I didn't think about the back windows. But on the other hand, I didn't want to feel completely closed in. Like, yeah, I want to be able to see out. I don't know what for. At best, I might see a coyote run down the road. I think they come out at night. Once I was walking the hiking paths around our house here, because we're near a conservation area, and I saw a fox. It stood out on my path. I looked at the fox. The fox looked at me. I'm like, okay, now what do we do? And the fox went back into the bush. So I continued my walk. But I always remember that. Anyways, I am going to drink my milk and I think go to sleep. But before I do that, I just wanted to say, I'm a night owl. In the house, I go to sleep about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just doing stuff. Sometimes I get ideas, I write them down. Sometimes I'm playing a game. That's not a good idea because it's definitely not going to help you get to sleep. But a lot of times I'm awake until 2 or 3, and that's fine. I'm used to it. For some reason, I'm trying to get myself switched around. I wake up about 5 hours later, and I'm fine. I'm fine throughout the rest of the day. But when I'm out camping, we go to bed about 9 or 10, and I wake up about 5. I get more sleep, and I think it's the fresh air. So I don't know if that's going to happen here, or if I'm just in a hurry for the night to get over with. So I had to get my iPad out because my iPhone said that the storage is full. I'm like, okay. So instead of fighting that, I just thought I'd finish up with the iPad here. I was just saying that when we're camping, I go to bed earlier. I think it's the fresh air, so I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but I feel tired, and it is about 10:30. So we'll see what happens. I'll be waking with the dawn for sure. I'm on the neighborhood watch detail tonight. Nothing going on. Neighborhood watch. What did I learn when car camping? Well, first of all, 6-degree weather in the winter is not warm enough. That would be about 42 Fahrenheit. It's not warm enough without a heater. You really do need a heater if you're going to do it. Even if you don't have the heater turned on the whole time, you need that option. My Sub-Zero sleeping bag was okay to start, but as the night waned on, it took on the temperature of everything that was around me. In other words, it was cold and it started getting cold. I sort of likened it to setting a block of frozen meat on the counter to thaw out, and it gradually takes on the temperature of its surroundings. Well, my little body in that sleeping bag was not enough to keep it heated up the whole time. So by 4 a.m., I started getting cold. My legs started getting cold. And here's another thing. I the vehicle was on a slight grade down towards the street, and I'm sleeping up in behind the seats. And what was happening is the sleeping bag itself, the outer surface is slippery fabric, and I was gradually slipping down towards the door. So in my sleep, with this gradual movement down towards the door, my legs were off the mattress that I had. So I didn't have anything underneath my legs to help buffer, let's say, the coolness in the vehicle. So my legs started getting cold, and that's what woke me up about 4 o'clock in the morning. So lesson learned, make sure your vehicle's on level ground. And if not, I am going to try this again, experiment number 2. And I'm going to turn the vehicle around so that my body is leaning. If it's going to slip, which it will, it'll lean into the seats instead of going down into the door. So if you can't find level ground, maybe that's something you want to keep in mind. I also found it difficult to get comfortable. So I'm used to sleeping in a king-size bed with lots of room. So trying to keep my body on a 30-inch wide mattress was a little difficult. Now when I'm camping, I tend to have the whole back of the vehicle filled in with foam, 4-inch memory foam. And then I can spread out and move around, or if Stanley decides to join me, which has happened on occasion, at least we have that room. But I didn't do that this time. I just had that 30-inch wide mattress, which I thought is going to be enough. And sort of it is, but I needed more room to move around. Plus, I found that it wasn't quite as comfortable as I wanted it to be. I think in the future I will add another memory foam topping to that, just to add a bit more give underneath me. The older we are, the more we want comfort, especially for hips and things like that. If you're sleeping on your hip, you're sleeping on your side, your hip can get sore and tired and hurt. I have rheumatoid arthritis, so that can happen even in the best of circumstances for me. So when I set up the tent attached to the vehicle, and I sleep in the back of the Honda, then what I do is I have a downy duvet, and I put that underneath me as well. So that adds to the warmth or the coolness. In other words, it's a more breathable fabric underneath. And it also adds a bit more cushion. So I think that's the way I'm going to set it up in the future. So I am going to try this again. So if you feel like it, stay tuned. My second try, I'm actually going to run the heater out to the vehicle. I'll attach it in the garage, and I'll run the cord in a nice way so that nobody would trip over it, and just try that out. So, but you know what? Overall, it was fun. It was an adventure. So, stay tuned. More fun to come. And if you try it, please let me know what you discovered, what you found. The privacy issue was great. I had no problems there. I was not afraid. I did not FaceTime Stanley because I didn't feel the need to. I didn't get lonely, but I did go in at 4 a.m., which was the second time I had to go to the washroom. Used my pee bucket, and I said, I don't know if there's enough room for 2. So I was cold, went in at 4 o'clock. So not too bad. Good experiment.